There is a word that for many of us is the heaviest word in the human language. It's a word so small, yet it can feel like a declaration of war. That word is no. Think about it. The moment someone asks something of you, a favor, your time, your energy, and your soul quietly whispers, no, what happens inside you? A wave of something cold and sharp washes over you. A voice in your head immediately starts to panic. They'll be disappointed. They'll think I'm selfish. They won't like me anymore. And that feeling, that heavy, sinking feeling that settles in your chest, is guilt. It feels like a moral compass, doesn't it? Like an internal judge telling you that you are about to do something wrong, something selfish, something bad, just because you said no. But what if I told you that that feeling of guilt is not your compass? What if it's your cage? A beautifully constructed, deeply familiar prison built long ago to keep you safe, but which now holds you captive. The deep dive into our shadow and subconscious reveals a profound truth. That guilt we feel when we try to set a boundary is not a measure of our character. It is the echo of an old survival program, a program that once taught you that danger is coming. A dangerous equation. My agreeableness equals my safety. My needs equal a threat. This episode is an invitation to begin uninstalling that program, to understand where this guilt truly comes from, and to discover that on the other side of it is not selfishness, it's freedom. To understand this guilt, we have to travel back in time, not in a metaphorical sense. We have to travel back into the logic of your own nervous system, because the guilt you feel today when you say no is not a present day emotion. It is a ghost, a deeply stored memory from a time when your no felt like a threat to your very survival. Let's be very clear about this. The guilt is not a moral failing. It is a threat signal fired by an old and brilliant protection program. This program has a name. In psychology, it's often called the fawn response. It is one of the four primary trauma responses: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fawning is the instinct to appease a perceived threat, to become agreeable, helpful, and pleasing in order to neutralize danger and ensure you are not attacked or abandoned. And it is born in childhood, in the moments we learn unspoken rule. The rule that our safety depended on someone else's comfort. A child's brain has one primary directive: to maintain attachment to their caregiver, mommy and daddy, at all costs. Because for a child, attachment equals survival. A child is like an emotional seismograph, right? The thing that reads the earthquakes. We're constantly reading the environment for tremors of disapproval or stress in their caregivers. If a child grows up in an environment where their own needs, their own anger, their own authentic expressions cause a parent to become angry, distant, or overwhelmed, the child learns a powerful lesson. My needs are dangerous. My truth is a problem. My job is to keep my caregivers calm and happy so that they will continue to take care of me. Let's think of a girl we'll call Emily. Emily's father had a volatile temper. Her mother was anxious and always walking on eggshells. The home was only peaceful when everyone was happy. One day, Emily, just 7 years old, comes home from school, tired and wanting to be alone. Her mother asks her to help set the table for dinner. Emily says simply, "No, I'm tired, Mom." It was her truth, the small, innocent boundary. But her father overhears this and his voice booms, "Don't you dare be disrespectful to your mother." Her mother's face fills with panic and fear. In that moment, Emily's nervous system is flooded with terror. It creates a powerful equation, a blueprint for survival. To be agreeable, be a nice girl, is to be safe. To have needs is to become a threat. She learns to say yes, not out of love or truth, but out of a deep primal fear. I remember this feeling myself when I was young. I was very young, maybe 5 or 6. I had saved a special piece of cake, a rare treat, all day long. Now, a visiting cousin saw it and they said they wanted it. My mother looked at me with that familiar tired expression and said, "Just give it to your cousin, don't cause a fuss." I remember the feeling of my hand closing around the plate of the cake, right? But the fear of my mother's disapproval, that quiet sigh of disappointment, was far more terrifying than the loss of the cake. So I gave it away. This piece of chocolate cake that I wanted for myself. And in that moment, I felt a strange mix of relief for avoiding conflict, but also self-betrayal, this ache of self-betrayal. That ache was the first seed of this guilt. It was the program being installed. This program becomes our default setting. It gets wired into our nervous system. It's no longer a conscious thought, it's an automatic physiological reaction. So now, as an adult, when you're in a situation where you need to say no and you want to say no, your conscious adult brain knows it's perfectly reasonable to say no. But that old program, the fawn response, is triggered. It doesn't see your boss or your friend or your partner. It sees the angry father, the neurotic, hysterical, or disappointed mother. It sees the threat to your survival, and it sounds the alarm. That alarm is the feeling of guilt. Guilt is the nervous system screaming, "Warning, you're about to do something that was once dangerous. You're risking abandonment. Appease the threat immediately. Say yes." This is why it feels so physical. The racing heart, the knot in your stomach, the lump in your throat where you can't talk. It's your body preparing for a threat that is no longer real. It's an old software running on new hardware. And this is where Carl Jung's work on the shadow becomes so vital. Because in order for the survival program to run effectively, it had to take your true, authentic self, the self that has needs, the self that has boundaries, the self that can say a clear, unapologetic no, and it had to define that self as bad or dangerous. It had to push that entire part of you into the darkness, into the shadow. So the person you are today, the kind, agreeable, people-pleasing you, is the persona. It's a mask that was built to survive. And the guilt you feel is the alarm system designed to protect that mask at all costs. It's the guardian at the gate of your own shadow, trying to prevent you from ever meeting the powerful, authentic self that lives within. It believes it's protecting you. It's a coping mechanism. But in reality, it's no longer useful. It's keeping you in a prison of your own making. So take a moment and ask yourself with gentleness, where did you first learn your no was dangerous? Who taught you that your needs were a problem? You don't have to have a dramatic story like Emily's. Sometimes it's as quiet as, you know, a small thing. Just see the origin. That's the first step to rewriting the code. My father used to whip me with a belt if I disobeyed. So I learned to be a yes and a pleaser, a yes girl and a pleaser. And so I had to deal with that. My logical mind knows this. But when the alarm sounds, when someone wants something of me, it feels very real. And I felt I had to say yes. I felt guilty if I didn't say yes. So the quickest way to silence the alarm of guilt is to usually give in, just to say yes, right? Just make it all the nervousness go away. Every time you do this though, every time you betray yourself to appease someone else, you achieve a moment of relief. The fire alarm of guilt goes silent. The tension dissipates. You have successfully avoided conflict. You have maintained your role as the nice girl, the good boy, easygoing, helpful person. The survival program has worked perfectly, right? It's gotten you so far. But this relief comes at a terrible hidden price. A price that is far heavier than the momentary discomfort of guilt. That price is the slow, steady erosion of your own soul, your own self-respect. Now, Carl Jung taught us that the psyche is always seeking balance. For every action, there is a consequence. And the consequence of consistently silencing your own truth is an act of self-betrayal. Let's be very clear with this language. It's not just being nice. It's an act of abandoning yourself. In that moment, when your body is screaming no and your mouth says yes, you are sending a powerful message to your own deepest self. A message that says, your needs do not matter. Your energy is not as important as their comfort. You are not worthy of your own protection. Each act of self-betrayal is like placing a small, smooth stone into a bag you carry on your back. 1 stone is nothing. You barely feel it. 10 stones, you start to notice the weight. 1,000 stones collected over a lifetime of people-pleasing, and you find yourself crushed under the unbearable weight of them. This weight has a name. It's called resentment. Resentment is the shadow side of the people pleaser. It is the toxic byproduct of 1,000 unsaid no's. It is the stored energy of every time you gave when you were empty, smiled when you were, feeling bad, and agreed when you felt violated. Which of these 5 statements sounds mostly like you? I often wake up in the middle of the night worrying about my future. I'm angry or resentful towards a specific person. I have anxious, obsessive, compulsive thoughts throughout the day. I have an addiction: smoking, drinking, drugs, shopping, sugar. And lastly, I feel I'm wasting my life away. Hello, I'm Dr. Alkistis Agio, and for over 25 years, I've been coaching and training people to transform their fears insecurities, anxiety, frustration, and anger into mental and emotional freedom. I'm confident that my simple 3-step method can help you to transform into the joyful, confident, free human being that you deserve to be. I want to invite you to join my weekly online coaching to finally get the results you want. Look, you've tried it alone so far, and you've had some okay results, but let's face it, you're still feeling stuck right now, spinning your wheels and frustrated. You know, Einstein had said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Unless you accept that fact, you can't move forward. I'm here to support you, as well as the whole community that we are co-creating. Stop feeling stuck. Stop feeling depressed. Stop feeling angry. You don't have to do it all alone. And alone isn't working anyway. So go ahead and apply below to join my online group coaching and begin to see positive results from the very first session. So let's go back to Emily now. She's grown up. She's a loving mother and a graphic designer. Her sister calls her. Emily, I know it's last minute, but can you possibly watch the kids this Saturday? We have a chance to go away for the weekend. Emily's heart sinks. Saturday is the one day she's carved out for herself. The one day she can work on her own art project. The one thing that makes her feel alive. Her body is screaming, no, say no. But the old program kicks in. The guilt alarm starts to blare. She hears her mother's voice. Family helps family. Don't be selfish. She imagines her sister's disappointment, so she says, of course, no problem at all, sis. The guilt alarm is silenced. She feels that momentary relief that her sister will appreciate her and like her. But later that day, her husband comes home and asks a simple question, like, what's for dinner? And Emily snaps. She becomes bitchy and says, I don't know, what do you figure it out? Do I have to do everything around here? The anger is sharp and it seems to come out of nowhere. Her husband is confused. He doesn't know that his question was not the real target. The real target was her sister. And more accurately, the real target was herself for abandoning her own needs yet again. Okay? The poison of resentment, born from her self-betrayal, had found a place to leak out on a soft target. This is the devastating cycle of the people pleaser. You say yes to avoid the guilt of disappointing others. But that yes creates a self-betrayal that breeds resentment. And that resentment eventually erupts as an angry snap, which then creates a new, even deeper layer of guilt and shame, now to her husband. It's like if you have road rage, it's the same thing. The road rage is about something else, resentment you have with someone else. And you're just becoming a hysterical, angry dragon. The only way to break the cycle is to be willing to be okay with guilt, to stand your ground when the alarm goes off, to understand that the momentary, intense feeling of guilt is infinitely less toxic than guilt, than the chronic, soul-crushing weight of resentment. Think of it this way. Guilt is like a loud, obnoxious guard at the gate of a beautiful garden. The garden is your freedom, your authentic life. The guard shouts at you, tells you you're not allowed in, you're not worthy, and you're a bad person for even trying to get in there. For years, you've believed the guard and turned back. But you've been living in a barren wasteland outside the garden, growing bitter and resentful. Shadow work is the process of walking calmly up to that guard, looking it in the eyes and saying, I hear you. I know you think you're protecting me. You were useful once when I was a child. Okay, made me be nice. But I'm going to go into the garden now. The guard is going to scream, it's going to protest, it's going to tell you all the things, the terrible things that will happen. This is the moment of choice. This is where the real work lies. Not in fighting the guard, but in being willing to endure its noise. It's going to talk. It's going to tell you you're not a good girl, you're not a good boy, you're not, people are not going to love you. Every time you choose to honor your no, despite the guilt, you're taking back your power. You're telling yourself and the universe that you are worthy of your own care. You're choosing the discomfort of growth over the false comfort of appeasement. You can say no in a nice way, but still say no. And so you're going to begin in this way to drain the swamp of resentment that has been draining your life from the inside out. You start to find that your relationships become more honest. Your anger no longer needs to erupt into misplaced explosions. And your yes, when you do give in, becomes a true gift, not a resentful obligation. This is the path to freedom, and it begins with a single courageous step right through the heart of your own guilt. So how do we begin? How do we walk past this guard of guilt and step into the garden of our own freedom? The answer, my friend, is not to fight the guard. The answer is not to pretend it isn't there, though. The answer is to start small. So small, the guard barely notices. The journey to a guilt-free no is not a single dramatic leap. It is a series of small, conscious, courageous steps. It is the practice of building a new muscle, the muscle of self-worth. And like any muscle, it starts with light weights. I want to offer you a tangible, practical exercise, something you can begin this week. I call it the practice of the safe no. A safe no is a refusal given at a low-stakes situation, a situation where the consequences of disappointing someone are minimal. This is not about saying no to your boss's major project or your mother's plea to move back home. Not yet. This is about finding a training ground. Your first task is simply to identify a potential safe no. Look at your week ahead. Maybe it's a friend asking you to go to a dinner or to a movie that you have no interest in seeing. Maybe it's a colleague asking for help on a minor task when your own plate is already full. Maybe it's a bake sale you feel obligated to contribute to. Identifying one very small, low-stakes request where you would normally automatically say yes. That is your target. Now, for the practice itself, when the request comes, your old program will fire up. The guilt alarm will start to ring. Your job is not to silence the alarm. Your job is to create a tiny pocket of space before you respond. And in that space, you will use a powerful tool, a delay tactic. Instead of an immediate yes or a terrifying no, you will say one of these phrases. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. I need to think about that for a moment. Can I let you know soon? Or that sounds interesting. Let me see if I can make it work. These phrases are magic because they buy you the one thing you need most, time. Time to let the initial panicked wave of guilt wash over you. The old good girl, good boy. Just step away from that. Connect with your own truth. Time to move from an unconscious reaction to a conscious choice. Once you have that space, you can do the real work. Find a quiet moment right now. Even as you listen, I'm inviting you to do this with me. Place a hand on your heart. Just feel the physical sensation of it. The warmth, the beat. This is your center. This is your truth. Just take a deep breath and ask yourself a question. What do I truly want to do? Not what you should do, not what a nice person would do. What do you, in your heart of hearts, want? Maybe the answer is, I really want a quiet night in. Maybe it's, I really need to focus on my own work right now. The answer will be clear. Or maybe it's like, I don't want to do that sexual favor that they asked me. Now comes the courageous part, honoring that answer. You go back to the person and you deliver your safe no. You can be kind, you can be gracious, but you must be clear. Thank you so much for thinking of me for that invitation, but I won't be able to make it this time. I appreciate you asking, but I have to pass. I'm sorry, but my answer is no. Or for a sexual favor, I don't really like doing that. That's not my thing. And then you will observe the guilt that rises up in your body. But this time, it's different. You're ready for it. You're expecting it. You can greet it like an old friend, like an old overprotective friend. Oh, hello, guilt. I see you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I've got this. You sit with the discomfort. You breathe through it. You remind yourself this feeling is a ghost from the past. It is an echo. It is a coping mechanism that I came up with when I was young. It has nothing to do with the here and now. You are not a bad person. You are a person who is finally honoring themselves. I'm going to be honest with you. The first time I did this, truly did this, it felt like I was breaking the law, right? Like I was a criminal. I said no to a family gathering because I was simply tired. The guilt was immense. You see, we always have lunch on Sundays, but at some point I decided I don't want to go every Sunday. I felt so guilty saying no to my mother-in-law and everyone else in the family. And the next day, something amazing happened. The world did not end. My family didn't abandon me or stop loving me. They might have been a little disappointed, but okay, so what? In the place of where there was guilt, a new feeling started to grow. A quiet, solid feeling of self-respect. A sense of inner strength that I hadn't felt before. I had met the guardian at the gate, and I had walked through. This practice, the safe no, is your first step through that gate. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. The muscle of self-worth gets stronger. The alarm of guilt gets quieter. You begin to rewire your nervous system, teaching it a new truth. My no does not lead to abandonment. It leads to authenticity and maybe a little abandonment. But usually it actually has people respect you more and trust you more. Most importantly, it leads to your freedom. It is not about being selfish. It is about being sovereign, becoming the king or the queen that you are. Understanding that you can't pour from an empty cup. Of realizing that your greatest gift to the world is not a resentful yes or a masquerading yes, but a whole, rested, and authentic self. And that self is built one courageous no at a time. We have journeyed to the very root of our guilt. We've seen that it is not a reflection of our character, but a relic of our past, our traumatic past. A powerful, outdated survival program designed by a child to stay safe. A program that has run our life on autopilot for far too long. We have learned that to avoid that momentary sting of guilt, we've paid a far greater price, the slow poison of resentment. of our heart and the heavy weight of self-betrayal. We've seen that this cycle, this prison of yes, is the engine that feeds our shadow and drains our soul and makes us reactive and hysterical and having anger management issues. We've discovered that there is a way out, a path to freedom that is not paved with grand gestures and grand revolts and revolutions, but practicing the safe no. This understanding is more than just knowledge. It is a key to the cage you thought had no door. The journey of shadow work, this path that Carl Jung illuminated for us, is about using that key. It's about choosing again and again to value your own truth over the temporary comfort of others. This is not a call to become a selfish person. It is a call to become the whole person. A person who understands the true kindness cannot flow from a place of obligation. True generosity cannot come from an empty well. Your greatest service to the world is not to be a depleted martyr, but to be a full, authentic, and sovereign human being. And that requires boundaries. It requires the sacred and sometimes terrifying power of saying no. But as you begin this practice, you may find that not all your no's are met with understanding. You may start to notice that your anger, your newly claimed boundary setter, is not always welcome. You might even be told that your anger is wrong or too much. This can be incredibly confusing, especially when you're just beginning to see it as a source of strength. How do we hold on to the wisdom of our anger when the world tells us it's a flaw? How do we heal our anger instead of just expressing it? Understanding the true nature of your anger and how to integrate its power in a healthy, healing way is our next vital conversation. And that is the journey we will take in the next video. Why your anger isn't wrong. I hope you'll be there. For today, your work is to be brave in small ways. Our community here is a space to witness and support that bravery. Your journey matters, and your story can be a permission slip for someone else. In the comments below, I invite you to share one thing. What is one safe no you are willing to practice this week? You don't have to have done it yet. Just declaring it as an intention. It's a very powerful act. Sharing it, you're making a commitment to yourself, and you remind others that they have a right to do the same. Thank you for walking this path with me. Remember, the guilt will feel loud at first. Let it. It's just the sound of old prison bars rattling as you finally walk free. Be kind to yourself. You're doing the bravest work there is. You're coming home. And remember, weekly I do online group coaching. So if you have an issue you want to share with me, join the online group coaching and meet other people with similar issues and allow me to lead you through a live streaming group coaching to help you heal, help you overcome, and embrace a joyful life, the one you were meant to live. Goodbye from beautiful Greece.